Mysterious Passenger, Part 1, The Encounter. The rain was relentless that night, hammering against the windshield in a relentless torrent. I drove through the slick streets of the city, my taxi slicing through the darkness like a lone ship navigating treacherous waters. Few fares ventured out in weather like this, but the promise of a surge fare drew me deeper into the labyrinth of empty streets. As I rounded a corner near the old warehouse district, a figure emerged from the shadows, hailing me with a frantic wave. Reluctantly, I pulled over. My curiosity piqued despite the late hour and the forbidding weather. The passenger was cloaked in a heavy trench coat, the collar turned up against the rain. They moved with a hesitant urgency, as if pursued by something unseen. The figure slid into the back seat, depositing a small, nondescript package on the cracked vinyl. "Airport, please," came the terse instruction, the voice muffled by the coat's high collar. I nodded silently, glancing at the package out of curiosity. It was wrapped in brown paper, tied with twine, innocuous, yet strangely unsettling. The drive started in silence, the only sound the thrum of the rain on the car roof and the rhythmic swish of the wipers. I stole glances at the rearview mirror, trying to catch a glimpse of my passenger's face, but they remained obscured by the shadows of the coat. Minutes passed, the city lights flickering past like distant stars in a storm-tossed sky. Abruptly, the passenger shifted in their seat, a subtle movement that caught my eye. Before I could react, a sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, and the package on the seat beside them tumbled to the floor with a soft thud. "I'll get that," I offered, my voice betraying a nervous edge. The passenger's gloved hand shot out, snatching the package from the floor with an almost desperate speed. They clutched it to their chest, their breath quickening in a way that set my nerves on edge. I returned my attention to the road, trying to shake off the unease creeping up my spine. But as I drove deeper into the night, a strange sensation began to settle over me. It started as a whisper at the edge of my consciousness, barely audible over the rain and the hum of the engine. Visions began to flicker at the corners of my vision, fleeting glimpses of faces distorted by fear and pain. Voices echoed in my mind, whispers of anguish and pleading. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, trying to push the unsettling sensations away. The passenger shifted again, breaking the silence that had settled between us like a shroud. "Are you all right?" Their voice was quiet, tinged with an undertone of concern that sent a fresh chill down my spine. "I'm fine," I muttered, my gaze fixed on the road ahead. But as I stole another glance in the mirror, I caught a fleeting glimpse of their eyes, dark and haunted beneath the shadow of the coat's hood. The airport loomed ahead, its lights a beacon in the night. I pulled up to the curb, the engine idling as the passenger reached for the door handle. With a final glance in the mirror, I saw them hesitate, their gaze lingering on the package clutched tightly in their hand. "Keep the change," they said abruptly, tossing a handful of bills onto the front seat before slipping out into the rain. I watched them disappear into the terminal, swallowed by the swirling mist and the bustle of departing travelers. As I pulled away from the curb, a sense of unease settled over me like a second skin. The package lay forgotten on the seat beside me, its presence a silent reminder of the strange encounter. Rain continued to drum against the roof of the taxi, a relentless rhythm that echoed the disquiet in my mind. And as I drove back into the night, the visions returned with a vengeance, haunting me with their silent pleas and desperate cries. I knew then, in the depths of that stormy night, that I had stumbled upon something far more than a simple fare. The truth awaited, hidden within the depths of that mysterious package and the enigmatic passenger who had left it behind. Part 2. The Haunting. The rain continued its relentless assault as I drove aimlessly through the deserted streets, my thoughts consumed by the mysterious encounter with the cloaked passenger. The package sat beside me, its presence weighing heavy on my mind like an unspoken secret. I couldn't shake the eerie feeling that something had changed since picking up that passenger. The visions persisted, flickering at the periphery of my consciousness like elusive shadows. Faces contorted in fear, voices pleading for mercy. It was as if the passenger's presence had unlocked a door to a realm of darkness I had never known existed. The clock on the dashboard ticked past midnight as I navigated back towards the heart of the city. The streets were deserted, the usual hustle and bustle silenced by the storm. Lightning crackled in the distance, illuminating the landscape in brief, eerie flashes. My phone buzzed with a notification, startling me out of my reverie. It was a text from dispatch, a new fare request in the industrial outskirts on the edge of town. Normally, I would have ignored such a late-night call, but something compelled me to accept. The address led me to a forgotten corner of the city, where warehouses loomed like dormant giants in the darkness. I pulled up to the designated spot, the headlights casting long shadows against the rusted corrugated walls. There was no sign of life save for the occasional flicker of a distant street lamp. I waited, the silence thickening around me like a suffocating blanket. Just as I began to consider leaving, movement caught my eye. A figure emerging from the shadows, cloaked in darkness and rain. It was the same passenger from earlier, their trench coat now soaked through, clinging to their form like a shroud. Without a word, they slid into the back seat once more, their presence suffused with an aura of quiet desperation. The package was nowhere to be seen, replaced instead by an air of urgency that sent a fresh chill down my spine. "Where to?" I asked cautiously, my voice barely audible over the drumming rain. The passenger hesitated, their breath hitching in a way that spoke volumes more than words ever could. "Anywhere but here," came the whispered reply, laden with a weight I couldn't comprehend. I navigated the labyrinthine streets with a sense of unease gnawing at my gut. The visions had returned, stronger and more vivid than before. Faces contorted in agony, eyes wide with terror, the same haunting images that had plagued me since that fateful encounter. As I stole glances in the rearview mirror, I caught glimpses of the passenger's reflection. Their eyes were fixed on something unseen beyond the rain-streaked window, their expression a mask of haunted resolve. I wanted to ask, to unravel the mystery that bound us together in this surreal dance, but fear held my tongue. Minutes stretched into eternity as we traversed the city, the storm showing no signs of abating. Lightning flashed overhead, casting fleeting shadows across the passenger's face. Each bolt illuminated features twisted by sorrow and fear, revealing depths of emotion I could barely fathom. "We're here." The passenger's voice shattered the silence, snapping me out of my trance. I glanced around, disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings. We had arrived at a dilapidated apartment complex, its windows dark and foreboding against the backdrop of the storm. Before I could protest, the passenger was gone, disappearing into the night with the same silent urgency that had marked their arrival. I sat there in stunned silence, the weight of their unspoken secrets hanging heavy in the air. I reached for the package they had left behind earlier, fingers trembling as I untied the twine and peeled back the layers of brown paper. Inside, nestled amidst folds of cloth, lay a tarnished locket. Its surface was etched with intricate patterns, the metal cool to the touch against my skin. I opened it with trembling fingers, revealing a faded photograph nestled within. It depicted a young woman with haunted eyes, her expression tinged with a sadness that pierced straight through to my soul. Her name was engraved on the back in delicate script, Elena. As I stared at the photograph, a chill swept through me, a realization dawning with chilling clarity. The visions, the voices, they weren't just figments of my imagination. They were fragments of Elena's story, whispered echoes of a tragedy that had transcended time itself. And as I sat there, alone in the silence of that stormy night, I knew with a certainty that I had unwittingly stumbled upon a tale of darkness and despair, one that would haunt me long after the rain had ceased and the echoes had faded into oblivion. Part 3. Unraveling the Past. The locket lay heavy in my palm, its cool metal a stark contrast to the heat of my racing pulse. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had become entangled in something far beyond my understanding, a web of secrets and sorrows that threatened to consume me whole. The storm continued to rage outside, the wind howling through the cracks in the walls like a mournful dirge. I sat in the dimly lit taxi, the locket a silent testament to the enigma that had unfolded before me. Elena's photograph stared back at me, her haunted eyes drawing me deeper into the labyrinth of her past. Who was she? What had happened to her? And why had the mysterious passenger entrusted me with this relic of sorrow? I knew I couldn't ignore the questions gnawing at my mind. With a resolute sigh, I pocketed the locket and stepped out into the rain-soaked night. The apartment complex loomed before me, a testament to neglect and decay. Windows stared back like vacant eyes, their glass stained with the passage of time. I navigated the labyrinthine corridors with a sense of trepidation, the echoes of my footsteps swallowed by the silence. Each door I passed seemed to guard its own secrets, whispers of lives lived and lost in the shadows. Finally, I reached the door marked with Elena's apartment number, a faded 314 etched in tarnished brass. My hand hesitated on the doorknob, uncertainty mingling with determination. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay beyond, and turned the knob. The apartment was shrouded in darkness, the only illumination filtering through the rain-splattered windows. Dust motes danced in the faint light, casting ethereal shadows across worn furniture and peeling wallpaper. "Hello?" My voice echoed in the stillness, unanswered save for the creak of floorboards beneath my feet. I moved further into the apartment, guided by an unseen force that pulled me inexorably towards a corner obscured by shadows. There, amidst the remnants of a life left behind, I found a battered old trunk. Its wood was weathered and cracked, hinges rusted with neglect. With trembling hands, I pried open the lid, revealing a treasure trove of memories frozen in time. Photographs spilled forth like autumn leaves, each one a snapshot of Elena's life before darkness descended. Smiling faces, celebrations frozen in laughter, and moments of joy captured in sepia tones. They told a story of a life filled with promise and possibility. But as I sifted through the memories, a chill settled over me once more. There were gaps in the narrative, shadows that hinted at darker truths lurking beneath the surface. Faces I didn't recognize, places shrouded in mystery. The puzzle pieces of Elena's life scattered like shards of shattered glass. And then, at the bottom of the trunk, I found it. A journal bound in cracked leather, its pages yellowed with age. I flipped through the entries, each one a testament to Elena's descent into despair. Words spilled forth like tears, ink bleeding onto paper in a torrent of anguish and regret. She wrote of a love lost to shadows, of dreams shattered by betrayal, and a darkness that consumed her from within. Visions haunted her waking hours, whispers of a past she could never escape, and woven between the lines, a name, Lucas, the specter who haunted her every thought. As I read, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The passenger, cloaked in darkness and silence, had been Lucas, a man driven by guilt and haunted by the specter of Elena's memory. But why had he entrusted me with her locket? What did he hope to achieve by unraveling the threads of her tragic tale? I closed the journal with a sense of reverence, the weight of Elena's story settling heavy in my heart. The storm continued to rage outside, a symphony of fury that mirrored the turmoil within. And as I sat there, surrounded by the fragments of Elena's shattered life, I knew that I couldn't turn away. Lucas's silent plea echoed in my mind, a desperate call for redemption, a chance to rewrite the ending of a story steeped in darkness. But the journey had only just begun, and the shadows that lurked in Elena's wake held secrets that threatened to consume us both. Part 4. Into the Abyss. The night stretched on, the storm outside showing no signs of abating. I sat alone in Elena's apartment, surrounded by the remnants of her life that had unraveled before me like a tragic tapestry. The journal lay open beside me, its pages a testament to the depths of her despair. As I read further into the night, Lucas's role in Elena's life became clearer. He had been more than just a fleeting presence. He was the architect of her downfall, the catalyst for the darkness that had consumed her soul. Guilt gnawed at him like a relentless beast, driving him to seek redemption in the most unlikely of places. But why had he chosen me, a mere taxi driver, to bear witness to Elena's torment? What connection did I have to their intertwined fates? The answers remained elusive, buried beneath layers of silence and sorrow. I closed the journal with a heavy heart, its weight a tangible reminder of the burden I now carried. The rain drummed against the windows, a relentless rhythm that mirrored the turmoil within. I glanced at the locket resting on the table beside me, its surface gleaming faintly in the dim light. Elena's photograph stared back at me, her haunted eyes a silent plea for justice. I knew then that I couldn't turn away from the darkness that had engulfed them both. Lucas's cryptic message echoed in my mind, a clue, perhaps, to unraveling the mystery that bound us together. With a resolute sigh, I gathered the remnants of Elena's life, the journal, the photographs, and the locket, and slipped them into my bag. The storm raged outside, but I was determined to confront the shadows that lurked in Elena's wake. I stepped out into the night, the rain soaking through my clothes as I navigated the deserted streets. The city seemed to slumber beneath a blanket of darkness, its secrets hidden within the labyrinth of alleys and forgotten corners. My destination lay ahead, a place Lucas had mentioned in passing, a sanctuary shrouded in mystery. As I approached, the air grew heavy with anticipation, every step a testament to the resolve that had taken root within me. The building loomed before me, its facade weathered by time and neglect. Windows stared back like vacant eyes, their glass clouded with the passage of years. I hesitated at the threshold, uncertainty mingling with determination, but there was no turning back now. I pushed open the door, the hinges groaning in protest as I stepped into the darkness beyond. The interior was cloaked in shadow, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. Cobwebs clung to the corners, remnants of a past forgotten by all but the ghosts that haunted its halls. I navigated the labyrinthine corridors with caution, guided by an unseen force that pulled me deeper into the heart of the building. Each step echoed in the silence, a whisper amidst the stillness that enveloped me like a shroud. And then, at the end of a long corridor, I found it. A door bathed in moonlight, its surface adorned with intricate carvings. It stood before me like a gateway to another world, its secrets waiting to be unveiled. With trembling hands I reached for the handle and pushed the door open. Light spilled forth, casting long shadows across the threshold. I stepped into the room beyond, my heart pounding in anticipation. What awaited me on the other side would test the limits of my courage and unravel the mysteries that had bound us together in this dark and twisted tale. Part 5. Confronting the Truth. The room beyond the door was a cavernous space, dimly lit by flickering candles that cast dancing shadows on the walls. The air was thick with incense, its sweet aroma mingling with the musty scent of old books and ancient secrets. At the center of the room stood Lucas, his silhouette framed against the soft glow of candlelight. His eyes were haunted, dark circles beneath them betraying sleepless nights spent grappling with his demons. "You came." His voice was a hoarse whisper, laden with a mixture of relief and apprehension. He gestured towards a table strewn with artifacts, a collection of relics that spoke of a past steeped in darkness. I approached cautiously, the weight of Elena's story heavy on my shoulders. The locket lay nestled among the artifacts, its presence a silent reminder of the bond that had brought us together. "What is all this?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the crackle of the candles. Lucas hesitated, his gaze fixed on the locket in my hand. "These are fragments of a life torn apart," he began, his voice trembling with suppressed emotion. "Elena, she was my sister." The revelation hit me like a thunderbolt, shaking me to the core. Lucas continued, his words spilling forth in a torrent of guilt and regret. He had been powerless to save her from the darkness that had consumed her, haunted by memories of a time when they had been inseparable. "But why involve me?" I asked, my mind reeling with the weight of his confession. Lucas looked at me with haunted eyes, his gaze piercing through to the depths of my soul. "Because you saw," he replied quietly. "You saw what others couldn't. The visions, the voices. Elena's spirit is trapped between worlds, her story unfinished. I glanced around the room, the artifacts whispering of a past that refused to remain buried. Lucas's quest for redemption had led him here, to a place where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural blurred. Together, we delved deeper into Elena's story, piecing together fragments of her life scattered like shards of shattered glass. Each artifact held a clue, a photograph, a letter, a piece of jewelry that spoke of a life haunted by betrayal and loss. As the night wore on, the candles burned low, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. Lucas and I stood amidst the relics of Elena's past, bound together by a shared determination to uncover the truth. And then, as if guided by an unseen hand, I felt a presence in the room, a whisper at the edge of my consciousness, a voice calling out from the depths of despair. It was Elena, her spirit lingering between worlds, urging us to confront the darkness that had claimed her. With trembling hands, I placed the locket on the table before us. Its surface gleamed faintly in the candlelight, a beacon of hope amidst the shadows. Lucas took a deep breath, his resolve hardening as he reached for the locket. "We will set her free," he declared, his voice filled with a determination born of desperation and hope. Together, we embarked on a ritual older than time itself, weaving threads of magic and memory into a tapestry of redemption. Candles flickered, incense wafted through the air, and whispers filled the room, a chorus of voices pleading for release. And then, in a moment that stretched beyond time, the room filled with a blinding light. The air shimmered with energy, a palpable presence that transcended the physical realm. I felt Elena's spirit stir, a fleeting touch against my skin, before dissipating into the ether. Silence descended upon us like a benediction. Lucas and I stood in awe, the weight of Elena's story lifting from our shoulders like a burden finally released. The room seemed to breathe with a newfound peace, the echoes of the past fading into oblivion. "We did it," Lucas whispered, his voice choked with emotion. I nodded silently, my heart heavy with the bittersweet realization that Elena's journey had come to an end. As dawn broke on the horizon, we stood together amidst the relics of a life reclaimed. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world forever changed by the shadows that had once threatened to consume us. And as we parted ways, bound by a bond forged in the crucible of darkness and redemption, I knew that Elena's spirit would live on, in the stories whispered in the night, in the memories etched in time, and in the hearts of those who dared to confront the truth.